I have a major problem. I don't know how many medieval minifigures I own. So today, I decided to dump them all out and take inventory by building up some armies, so I can finally figure out once and for all how many medieval minifigures I own. I first started off by building up my Lion Knights army, as that was the one I expected to be the largest. My army consists of 2 spearmen, 2 heavy spearmen, 2 two-handed axemen, 2 halberd-armed flag bearers, 3 fully kitted out knights with 1 on horseback, 3 crossbowmen, 2 archers, and 2 musicians with 1 holding a trumpet from the Lion Knights castle set and the other holding a custom drum I made. And to lead the Lion Knights, I have a king and queen, which brings my total for the Lion Knights faction to 20 total figures. Moving over to the largest rival faction, we have of course the Black Falcons. On their side, we have 2 spearmen, 4 swordsmen, and 1 swordsman general, 2 flag bearers with 1 using the backpack assembly from the Lion Knights castle, 3 fully kitted out knights with 1 on horseback, 2 archers, and a king and queen, which I made using the 2 figures from the medieval blacksmith set. I also incorporated a prince and princess, with the princess being the Series 24 CMF figure. This brings my Black Falcon total to 18, giving me a total of 38 minifigures so far. But those aren't the only knight factions I own. My next faction is the Crown Knights from the 2007 fantasy era of LEGO Castle. I made 2 spearmen and 1 with a large halberd. I also made another one with a different style halberd and a long shield. And I have 2 additional, more modernized Crown Knights, which I believe came from a LEGO movie set, to pad out the faction. To lead them, I've utilized a modified version of the Heroic Knight from Series 9. This puts the Crown Knight faction total at 7, making the total minifigure count 45. My 2 smallest knight factions come from the Kingdoms line. I have 3 Red Lion Knights and 3 Green Dragon Knights. One of my Green Dragon Knights has a horse, which is notably pretty valuable. These are 2 factions I would really like to beef up in the future, but for now, this brings our total up to 51. Taking on some more fantasy elements, the next major faction I have assembled is my Orc and Troll army, which for my purposes I would like to categorize as just my Orc army. In it, I have 2 basic Series 24 Orc Warrior CMFs, 1 Orc Scout, 1 Orc Noble, the design of which I saw in a Goldfire video and wanted to incorporate into my own medieval world, an Orc Warlock, an Orc War Advisor, which I utilized an old beat-up gray cape that really just gives them an awesome look, and for their leader, an Orc King. Also worth mentioning, making this faction even more formidable, is 1 large Orc Brute to round out the lineup. This brings the Orc faction up to 8, but I could also incorporate some of my Lord of the Rings Orcs and Goblins to boost the numbers if I so choose. But for now, this leaves us with a total of 59 figures. Moving away from strict war-based factions, I also have a merry band of 5 Forestmen. At this point, I consider them more of a forest family rather than a traditional faction, considering I have so few of them. I also found out I have a lot of miscellaneous CMF figures, which I will briefly list here. I have a Tournament Knight, which is a personal favorite of mine, 2 Basil the Batlords, a Moon Warrior, a Barbarian, a Snow Guardian, another personal favorite of mine, the Acorn Boy, the Mushroom Girl, and a Harpy. It's also worth mentioning that I have a full collection of Dungeons & Dragons minifigures, including 3 Dragonborn Paladins, which brings my total to 87. I also decided to create 3 custom figures from some spare parts I had, in which I created 2 Woodland Thieves and an old veteran knight. Moving over to my medieval townsfolk, I have a blacksmith and his wife from the medieval blacksmith set, the 3 peasant figures from the Lion Knights castle, 2 custom townspeople, 1 Series 25 goat herder, a troubadour and his apprentice son, and a classic court jester, which if my math is correct, brings our figure count to exactly 101. This video was a lot of fun to make, and honestly surprised me of just how many figures I actually owned. If you want to see more LEGO and medieval castle content, definitely consider subscribing and staying tuned for future projects involving all these figures. Thank you for watching.